Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster, and we are here for part 10 of What If Deku Had Anti-Venom. Now then, if you haven't noticed, or if you haven't watched the last update video, as you can probably tell already, we are focusing on what if Deku had Anti-Venom, and what if Asta was Ignio's son, as well as keeping up with the What If Lotto. So, yeah. Hope you will enjoy this and all the other what ifs that are going to be coming out. As per usual, before we start, hit it. Okay then, now then, as all the heroes that were called in order for the raid on the League of Villains hideout, both the bar as well as the Nomu containment lab, as All for One was finishing up all the prep work on a large device, with the heroes meeting up and discussing a plan of action. Shinzo, during the attack, who while he was there, knew that he didn't have any right as a general course student to actually fight. So him and his symbiote Blackout went stealth mode with their invisibility as a way to hurry and scout out the symbiotes as well as the villains, giving more or less a rundown on the quirks that they seem to be having and which one has symbiotes. As for Mike and Mirio, who were there, they were actually just chilling out together and were attacked by a Nomu. Of course, this happened a distance away, and being a lesser Nomu that attacked them, it was taken care of fairly easily with a point-blank blast to the face to Mike's scream. If it can cause ears to bleed from either a football field length or multiple football fields lengths away, I don't want to imagine what a point-blank hit from it would be like. As they remark that these creatures have multiple quirks, and were at least once human, but they're more or less puppets now, so they shouldn't hold back on them if they encounter them. As Izuku and Toga were shown, this confusing a number of the pros as they suited up in symbiotes. The heroes were given pre-existing information about the symbiotes, as Endeavor looks at Toga and Izuku thinking, so those are supposed to be our trump cards for them, as Izuku raised his hand wanting to speak, stating that, well, there are some limits to some things that I won't be able to do, with Endeavor asking like what. He can't use a shocking power of bioelectricity that goes along with the power set he has from Anti-Venom. As Anti-Venom shows up coming out of his shoulder, revealing Izuku's face by pulling the mask back, and speaks for himself. In the fight against Muscular, we learned he had Agony, a symbiote that drastically enhances the host's muscles, as well as produces acid, in a host that grows muscles automatically with their power, to the point of coating himself with it on the outside of his body. If we electrocute him, it would cause the outer muscle fibers to go erratic, spasming everywhere. as well as doing a similar concept to the symbiote Agony, which would have resulted in Agony shooting out acid in the immediate area. As we were protecting a child at the time, we couldn't do that. And if we're going to be fighting in an enclosed space, we should be careful. As they do take that in mind and understand. One of their top priorities is knocking out and subduing Muscular and their symbiote, as Anti-Venom continued. As for the symbiote that is bonded to the villain that from the League of Villains, Tomura Shigaraki, that was attacking the USJ in order to kill All Might with the first normal creature that was encountered. He is bonded to a symbiote known as Carnage, a deranged symbiote whose first host they were bonded to was a mass serial killer. Their abilities are quite dangerous. The only reason I believe that he has been tamed as of recently is because of the prospect of causing unbelievable chaos and carnage as much as he wants. So be careful. He is immune to electricity, but fire attacks should work just fine. Looking at Endeavor, as he punches one fist into his other hand's palm, stating, "Well, that makes things a bit more easier now, doesn't it? I'll roast them alive." As Izuku is not really happy being having to work with him. With this, they do have a structure of a plan, or at least just a bit. Two teams will attack each of their facilities at the same time to minimize the risk, as well as to help keep them from trying to counterattack. With that all settled, time passes by as Mina and Bakugo were being forced into training to help them control themselves a bit better, especially Bakugo, who needs to control his emotional state a lot better now that he has a symbiote that has a side effect of more or less boosting some emotions, especially arrogance and aggression if not careful. And since Bakugo was the first person to bond with his symbiote blast, it's kind of hard to describe, but they are energetic and ready to fight. As the students are aware that Toga and Izuku are sent off in order to help the heroes, knowing that they have symbiotes that are greatly useful and will be essential for this mission. As Aizawa gets ready along with Venom for the press conference, they assume that the League of Villains sent out notifications to the media about the symbiote, and now they got some explaining to do, not to mention the attack on the USJ. With all this, the mission begins as the press conference starts. As the press conference goes on, they do ask about what the school is planning on doing in regards to these attacks that have not happened just once but twice to the UA school. As Aizawa stated that they will be taking care of this and taking every precaution in order to make sure their students are safe. As Nezu states that they are actually going to perform a new system for UA, this being the dormitory system, as a way to help keep their students close by and protect them much easier in order to help defend against any future attacks. As Finally, a reporter asked, "And what about the allegations that students and faculty members of UA are actually having some form of parasite within their body?" As Venom inside of Aizawa saying, "Parasite?" As Aizawa states, the term parasite does not apply to this as you think of it. As he thinks about how to word it. They know that they can't hide the fact that they're aliens, but they can at least hide the fact that they're from another dimension. As he stands up, remarking, "These creatures you are referring to are a race known as the Clintar. In order for them to live, they feed off of excess nutrients that goes unused within a human body. In exchange for this, they heighten the abilities of their so-called host, as an even trade, giving them a sub-name of being called symbiotes. All that is required of the person that they're bonded to is more or less eating properly for them to be able to feed the symbiote and themselves, which isn't that much of a problem if they keep to a good diet for them to be fed properly. It's not much different than a parent feeding a child or an owner feeding an animal that they are taking care of." As he continues stating, raising his hand that is camouflaged to look like his old one, thinking, "Venom, do it." As his hand changes into black, shocking everybody. As he continues talking, stating, "My arm during the USJ attack was ripped off. And during that attack, a symbiote bonded to me and even saved my life, destroying the Nomu that ripped it off to begin with. And as of now, is also working as a form of living prosthetic for the arm that I lost. His name is Venom." As Venom comes out of Aizawa's shoulder, showing himself off, surprising everyone. Aizawa states, "You can ask Venom whatever you wish. Just please keep calm and respectful with your questions as best as you can." As a reporter asked, "What exactly are you? What is your goal here?" Venom asked, "We only wish to survive, as well as prevent something else. Something that has somewhat happened. As you may have known, a number of villains have bonded the symbiote. Part of the bonding process is that a portion of the host's psyche isn't printed on us, meaning we become one with them and vice versa, making the partnership much easier and less straining, so that we can try to better understand them. However, in certain cases, like the symbiote that bonded to the villain Tomura Shigaraki, it goes quite bad. The corrupted mental state causes them to go somewhat crazy, depending on the individual that they bond to. However, our kind has developed a method for purging these negative mental attachments from our kind as a way to help us stay in control of ourselves. But that all depends on if we can catch the symbiote and their host, which isn't always easy. We have fought in order to protect many." As he thinks, remarking that there is even a group of symbiotes whose goal is to help keep peace. Lifting up the symbiote prosthetic hand, revealing a odd star mark badge, stating, Even I am a part of this group. Our goal is to help prevent disasters, not just caused by others, but from our own kind being corrupted due to the host that they bond to, just for the mere purpose of survival. As they're not sure what to think about this, and continue asking, how did you get here? They thought about this ahead of time. As Venom stated, our kind isn't as limited as yours in terms of going to planet to planet. If we can latch onto an asteroid, we can go into a dormant state and just ride it out, per se. As for any other method, we can absorb different materials and tools into ourselves, incorporating it as a part of us. In some cases, it could be used as a method for extraterrestrial travel, as quite a number of people in multiple scientific fields find this highly fascinating, thinking that these symbiotes could be the key that they've been looking for to further advance their science in going into space, due to the fact that if it wasn't for quirks emerging, humanity would have taken to having vacations in outer space casually at this point, as it was also mentioned by Izuku in canon. But due to quirks, fields of study like that were put aside, with more scientific fields in creating items and such to help with living conditions of individuals with problematic quirks that made it somewhat harder for them to live and such. There was much discussion as they bowed, stating, "We fought in order to protect our students. We did everything we could to protect them and fight off the villains, and we succeeded. And we won't stand to let them be attacked without us being able to protect them. And we won't stand for the usage of the symbiotes that they have. We will take them back, and we will purge the more, psychotic and harmful aspects that have been imprinted on them, in order for them to be of help to our society." As hearing this, there is much confusion on whether or not they should trust them on this, but a symbiote literally just emerged from a racer head and is working as a prosthetic. Even those individuals out in the world that don't have limbs and are working with a robotic prosthetic wonder what could be. As back in the mission, with the League of Villains talking in the bar about any future plans, as well as some of their members asking what their leader, who is speaking, that spoke to them over the monitor without revealing his face, is actually planning. This is when someone knocked on the door, stating that they have pizza, which is when All Might comes bursting in with Kamui Woods hurrying up, restraining everybody that he could, and with Izuku and Gran Torino knocking everybody out as quick as possible. Though Muscular took a couple of whacks, but the symbiotes took over as they were forced into trying to back them off. At the same time, the Nomu lab was being attacked. At this time, those heroes were blown away, as Toga was worried, as she was tasked with helping with containment. If they got out of the building, she had to help keep them in by dragging them back if necessary. But unexpectedly, while the symbiotes were breaking out of Kamui Wood's binds and they were getting ready for a fight, Nomus began emerging from this mucky water warp quirk, as the League of Villains got sucked in by it, dragged to All for One, as he smiles with a big, sharp-toothy smile from shows off that he has a symbiote, as the upper part of the face doesn't have eyes, only the mark of a spiral on it, red, with a black symbiote, stating, "It seems as though we've had to advance our time scale." With All Might seeing this, he is frustrated as he overhears that the heroes attacking the secondary location can't be contacted. As All Might hurries up with Toga and Izuku filing as fast as can, as well as Gran Torino. Gran Torino tells Izuku to hurry up and go full force. As Anti-Venom states, "Ready?" Izuku states, "Yeah, ready as I could be, I suppose." As he creates a similar bind that he has over his fists and forearms, over his legs to reinforce them, using them to get there as fast as possible. With Gran Torino looking back at Toga, stating, "Come on, we gotta be able to get there before it's over." As All for One remarks in a flashback when he first came into contact with the symbiote he's bonded to. Having a bit of a flashback, we see All for One asking, "Who are you?" As he hears a laugh, seeing a big, sharp-toothed smile of a black symbiote with a red spiral on its upper face, remarking, "Oh, I'm just a fragment of the consciousness of a great and powerful being. But you are quite powerful yourself, immensely so. I believe we can help each other." As All for One asked, "And who might you be? If you're just a fragment, who are you a fragment of?" Laughing, chuckling, he states, "Well, I am a symbiote, or a clintar, that had a fragment of the consciousness of the one who created all symbiotes, Null. And I believe we can be mutually beneficial. As a fragment of Null, I am able to access knowledge of nearby symbiotes, though it's more of a copy and paste sort of arrangement. I was able to get much information while in captivity and escaping, as he shows that as the other symbiotes were getting out, he broke out with full force, leaving, as he was the end result. He was what S.H.I.E.L.D. was trying to destroy the most. A fragment, or at least a symbiote with a fragment of Null's consciousness. The idea was if they can use Anti-Venom to harm and or destroy all of these varying strong symbiotes, and if it can destroy this symbiote with a fragment of Null, then they may be able to destroy Null himself if he ever got free. Though with their jailbreak, that didn't really go as planned. As All for One smirked, stating, "So, what kind of deal are we talking about?" As the Null fragment just laughed, stating, "Well, first, let's talk about the knowledge I am offering." As All for One gestures into the back of the building that the heroes broke into, showing off multiple tanks, each one holding what seems to be a individual wearing a spandex hero suit or villain suit, complete with a face mask, and with each one having a spider emblem on them, as All For One states, as the capsules or the tubes open up, releasing the liquid, with All For One stating, "These are called Syntheziods. Null gained knowledge in order to make them. They were quite useful, as there are 8 of them," as he introduces them with the second name Spider and the first name of each of them being different, as they have Goliath, Ghost, Bone, Stealth, Shock, Flame, and Cyber. As he snapped his finger, remarking, "And this is our secondary surprise." I didn't like the fact that the heroes were outnumbering us in symbiotes, so we made a little something to assist with that. Though the smaller one was good for short messages of our plan, we had to make sure to be careful not to get a certain individual's attention. With the League not knowing what exactly the individual he's talking about, this is when All Might and Izuku showed up, being surprised at what they see being what appears to be various Spider-Men, along with the League of Villains, with Anti-Venom speaking up, stating, "I can't believe they did it. They actually made Syntheziods." Not knowing what this is, but seeing as they don't really have time to talk, All Might puts that aside for now, as they see a giant ring begin to emerge, bursting out from the ground, and then turning, as the ring went from flat to vertical, as it began to glow, opening up what looked like a portal. With Izuku and Anti-Venom looking at All For One, Anti-Venom yelled out, "It's Null! It's a fragment of Null's consciousness inside of a symbiote. I can't... No." As All For One Null just laughed, stating, "Yes, quite the partnership indeed, and quite useful, to say the least." As they just give a toothy smile, the head of what appears to be a black symbiote dragon emerges, remarking, "And here is a friend of ours. His name is Grendel." This being one of the symbiote dragons that serves Null. We had to make short burst in order to summon him here for a short amount of time. He still has jobs to do on the other side after all, as they just see a news helicopter showing off what's going on, as this is crazy. With this, they just remain silent in the news hall where Aizawa, Nezu, and King Vlad was there. Everyone in that room being silent, not knowing what to think, as well as holding their breath, as all of Class 1A, Class 1B, and the rest of everyone who was seeing this, either on the news or on the internet, was just holding their breath. As All Might goes directly for All For One, Grendel spat something out at high velocity, ramming in to All Might as he was pushed back a bit. He saw what looked like a gray symbiote-covered man with a large horn protruding from his forehead. As All Might reeled the fist back after shoving him a bit, punching him back. As this individual laughed, stating, "You really think that will stop us?" As Grendel began spatting out more individuals. One with large wings, another that in each hand had what appeared to be an electrical whip. Another that had a long, sharp tail pointed at the end, along with a blue-covered symbiote covering a large figure, as well as a yellow one covering a bulky figure that also showed off a bit of a beard, and what appeared to be a giant wolf symbiote. As these individuals are Whiplash, Scorpion, Vulture, Rhino, a Frost Giant, a Direwolf, and a Troll. The Frost Giant, Direwolf, and Troll were grabbed from the 9 realms due to the fact symbiote dragons can actually more or less keep up in terms of speed to beings of cosmic power like the Silver Surfer. So getting small messages from the null fragment in order to collect them was not that hard for Grendel to do, as well as offer a symbiote that Grendel captured and put into these individuals. As finally, All For One used a telekinetic power in order to lift up a large number of containers, as Grendel spat out symbiotes into them, as well as symbiotes going to the synthezoids of the spider synthezoid men. Each one become looking terrifyingly more dangerous. As things were seeming to get bad to worse, All For One gestured to the League of Villains who were excited to fight that they needed to go now, that they have a plan set in motion. As we just see Duplicate saying that we can't. Kurogiri is knocked out and we're not sure what happened to him. Edshot did something to him and he hasn't woken up. As All For One thought, very well, shooting out a red and black finger extensions into Kurogiri, as the null fragment symbiote was healing whatever was done to him. He ended up waking up as All For One gave him orders to send all of them to a safe location. And as he smiled, stating, "You know what to do," he created portals underneath their feet, sending them away. As Null All For One gestured, "So then, come at me." Them being a little freaked, as an odd portal began to open up in mid-air. This wasn't Kurogiri's, and it didn't look like what the machine was making either. From this portal, 3 individuals shot out, as they all punched Null All For One. As he hissed, saying, "You left the portal open too long." As the individual that seemed to be the oldest stated, "Yep, now it's time to finish this." As All Might stated, as he saw the symbiote dragon getting aggressive, he looked at Izuku, remembering something, stating, "Izuku, the Island incident, you got something, right?" As he remembered, stating, "Oh yeah, didn't really have a chance to practice with it yet," but as he extends his hand, after destroying Zek, who was taking over Wolf, at Island, he gained a version of his magnetic powers. Using it, he crushed the portal. As it was flickering, about to be completely destroyed, Grendel fell back in order to keep his head, with Null All For One laughing, stating, "It doesn't matter. My plans have been set into motion, and nothing you do will stop it now." As Shigaraki is frustrated, asking Kurogiri, "Why does you do that?" As Kurogiri remarked, "It's fine. We got more members now. Reinforcements. And not only that, but I sent the other symbiotes in the containers Master collected from that dragon over to the doctor. As the call came through, and Kurogiri said, speaking of, as the doctor was put on speakerphone with Kurogiri letting him know. As he states, I got the symbiote, as well as your message from you and All for One. Honestly, I'm excited for what's to come, but preparations have to be made, as well as assorted other matters. So, for the time being, if you don't mind, I would like to bestow something to your allies. But first, I would appreciate them introducing themselves as the individuals that the symbiote dragon Grindel spat up, more or less undid the suits that were made of the symbiotes. They introduced themselves. For them introducing themselves using their villain names. A man steps up, stating, you can call me Whiplash. Another man steps up, saying, Scorpion, while the two remaining ones called themselves Vulture and Rhino. As the large blue giant that had an air of coldness coming off of him stated, I am Uron, and I am a frost giant. As a yellow-skinned, large bearded creature with 4 fingers instead of 5 took a fist and slammed it into his chest, calling himself Cars, as he pet what looked like a large wolf, being a direwolf, stating, and this is my companion, Mez. We were offered something in exchange for helping you. And we believe what we were offered is more than worth it. As Carnage is laughing inside the Shigaraki, stating, well, this just got even more interesting. Don't you think, Shigaraki? With Shigaraki wondering, what is Master planning? Did he really need to bring this much reinforcements? It must be something incredible. And what about those symbiotes that were sent to the doctor? I didn't hear anything about giving them to Nomus. All I heard was preparations. As the doctor laughed, stating, very well, those names will suit. Kurogiri. As he created a portal, a number of vials came out. As Dobby stated, those are the vials that they're similar to the one you gave me, that was allowing phase to offset the downside of my quirk, right? As the doctor stated, yes, I modified my method for copying quirks, given the data I have for the symbiote, in order to allow a symbiote to directly infuse a type of their own version of a quirk in my collection. I was already given a heads up about the individuals and their capabilities, and their names as well. So, the vials are listed, and each one has a quirk in it. Have your symbiote absorb it, and you will gain quite the boost. As they were handed out, they all smirked as we cut back to the fight. As the 3 individuals that came out of the other portal that they didn't know what was going on with that, All Might stated they didn't have time. Izuku, hurry up and do what you can to separate that symbiote from him. As All Might goes directly for Null All for One, they clash. As Izuku uses his strength to push off of the air, striking at All for One. only being pushed back by a powerful tendril, reinforced and strengthened by numerous quirks. As one of the individuals that came for the portal grabs him, landing, helping him out, as he reveals his face being blonde and apparently American. The guy smirked, stating, "Hey, that was a good try, but I think you're gonna need some help." As Izuku states, "Okay, introductions later. Gotta stop the evil symbiote and the madman bonded to him, and all that first." As the individual covered his face, remarking, "Yeah, if you want to call me something, you can call me Codex." As Izuku remarked, "Agent Anti-Venom." This being when Gran Torino and Toga showed up, not knowing what's going on. Besides the individual in the dark symbiote covering him, there was two others. One with a red symbiote and one with a blue and black one, both having what seems to be spider-like features, using webbing to try their best in order to anchor All For One to the ground in multiple spots. As Izuku and Codex go straight for him again, this time with some help, they're able to get there and grab, as Izuku uses his venom shot to electrify All For One, this causing some severe pain, as this venom shot is actually being boosted by One For All, causing massive pain, as Anti-Venom uses the power he gained from the Soul and Mind Stone to invade the mental space. As the two individuals that came with Codex, and Codex helping them out, shoot organic webbing, with All Might giving them a hand, ripping All For One out of the sky onto the ground. As they continued attacking, one of the other people that came out of the portals, being a male, pokes out what seems to be a stinger coming out near his wrist area, stabbing into All For One, infusing paralyzing venom into him. As this goes on, Izuku and Anti-Venom are fighting with the null fragment in a more mental landscape, as they purge the physical body from All For One, as well as destroy the null fragment using the power they have gained from the Mind Stone. This causing both a physical and mental conflict, but with enough shock and attacks from everyone helping, Izuku was able to rip it clean out of All For One and purge any cells of the symbiote right out of him. But as he was destroying him, the null fragment just laughed, stating, "It's too late. It's too late. The plan is set in motion, and when it's all complete, I'll win." As the null fragment was destroyed along with the symbiote, All For One using his power to burst everyone off of him, got up shakily as he stated, "Enough." Powering up a large fist using multiple quirks, All Might is ready, but sees that there's a woman behind him trapped. As more and more heroes get there, we see All For One just firing an attack as All Might goes to block it. The sheer force of this causes him to deflate into Small Might, as he is exhausted. He has more ambers of One For All left than in canon, and he plans on using them all at once. With this, a similar ending as in canon happens, as All Might and All for One's fists collide, as All for One blows past All Might's arm, as he transfers it to his other arm, smashing him in the side of the head, as All for One does reel from this, being weakened after the symbiote was extracted from him, as All Might returns the power to his right arm, as he puts his back into it, giving a United States of Smash, causing a hurricane, lifting up large chunks of broken buildings, as All for One was put down. Toga and the other heroes were already in the process of gathering up the injured and such, as All Might raised his fist and puffed up again. With the world celebrating after watching this, and after some time, with the media looking at All Might, asking him if he had a comment, with heroes and as well as Toga and Izuku behind the camera, he points, stating, "Now it's your turn." As this was all settled, but now they had 3 individuals to deal with themselves. These individuals asked if there was a place that they could talk, bringing them to UA as they powered down their symbiotes. With Nezu asking, "May I ask who you are?" as they introduce themselves. The older one there introduces himself as Dylan Brock, as Aizawa is there with Venom. Venom comes out of his shoulder, stating, "It's been a while, Dylan," with Dylan stating, "Venom, good to see you, man," as Aizawa asked if Venom could explain how he knows Dylan. Venom explains that he's the son of a previous host of his, and due to certain circumstances, they could say Dylan has 3 parents, Venom included, instead of just 2, due to him being bonded for a time by his father as well as his mother in order to save her life. It resulted in Dylan becoming a naturally born human symbiote hybrid, shocking Nezu and Aizawa as well as Toga and Izuku, Toxin, and Anti-Venom there, as they didn't really expect that. They've been out of the loop in terms of some things, including Anti-Venom and Toxin. Anti-Venom had some memories from Eddie, but he didn't have them all. Mostly just memory fragments. As he introduced 2 proteges of his that did follow him, introducing them as April Parker and Ben Riley, as they introduced themselves in their hero's name. April Parker introducing herself as Mania, stating that she's also a human symbiote hybrid but was born created artificially. This being actually legit. She's actually a human symbiote hybrid clone of Peter Parker's daughter, May Parker, as Ben Riley introduces himself as Scarlet Spider and his symbiote partner, Rampage. Rampage showing his face, saying, "Hey." With this, Ben also states that he's actually a synthezoid, but thanks to a friend, I was able to break free of some really really bad individuals. This being even further surprising, there is quite a number of confusion. But after discussing things and taking a breath to collect all their thoughts, a decision was made. For one, Dylan Brock, being an adult, would be hired on as a faculty member, a part of security, while April Parker and Ben Riley would be enlisted in school since they seemed to be teenagers. As Venom asked Dylan outright, "Dylan, how exactly are things at home since we've been gone?" Dylan looked down, knowing he had to tell Venom, stating, Pete's gone, Venom." Rising, Venom, he looked sad. Aizawa asked, "Who's Pete?" Venom stating Peter Parker, one of the first humans I ever bonded to when I came to Earth, and the reason why I and all my spawnlings have spider abilities. He was a very desirable host. I might have gone a little bit crazy every now and then trying to bond with him again. He didn't like sharing his body, and I wasn't in the best of mind state. Before I bonded to Parker, I ended up first bonding to a bit of a madman. As if you don't know this from the comics, when Venom actually first came to Earth, he bonded to Deadpool first and then left him because he was too much for him, and then bonded with the Spider-Man. As Venom realized something, asking, "Wait, what about the others? Back home?" As Dylan reassured him, "It's okay. The place is being watched by some, I guess, proteges of Peter. 3 of them. There's Miles Morales, who was more than happy to take up the mantle of Spider-Man. There's also May, who inherited Peter's powers. She's actually going by the name Mayday. And there's also Spider-Gwen. Her real name is Gwen Stacy. And they're doing the Spider legacy pretty proudly, if I do say so myself." As Venom was glad about that. He knew that even if the Spider-Man name didn't really get a lot of, let's just say, congratulations or anything like that, due to a certain journalist reporter that just likes bashing on Spider-Man, you guys know who I'm talking about. He was glad that there was still some back home. As things were situated and discussions were made by the faculty, it was decided that Shinzo would be put into the hero course a bit early, and the 2 individuals that came along with Dylan, April Parker, and Ben would be separated into Class 1A and 1B, with Ben going into Class 1B and April into Class 1A, evening them out with each class having 22 students now. As for the League of Villains, leave in the comments below of which quirk you think the Doctor handed over to the villains that Grendel brought along with him through the portal, as well as any symbiote names for them, being the villains of Whiplash, Scorpion, Vulture, Rhino, a Frost Giant, a Troll, and a Direwolf. So yeah, just put those names in the comment section below. As all this was being taken care of, there was actually a meeting with the government before uh, everything with the dorm system was finalized, while teachers were taking care of going get signatures from the parents and permission. Things were revealed to their parents that were shocking to those who had symbiotes bonded to them. But they understood that they didn't actually mean any harm, though they do now realize why their kids have been so hungry. And it, from what they can tell, the symbiotes have actually been quite nice, as well as very protective of their children. Given that, and the situations they help protect them from, like the USJ attack, as well as the attack on the training camp. They were somewhat nervous about it, but decided to somewhat trust the symbiotes that help protect their children. As signatures were gathered pretty simply, though Toga's father was not really happy about this, thinking that he may have been right about his daughter all those years ago. Though Toga's mom did think about it and thought that it didn't really matter. Her daughter ended up getting so much when she was bonded to Toxin, and decided to trust Toxin with her daughter and to keep her safe, as she does sign the papers and asks Toxin to watch over Toga and keep her safe, as Toxin smirks, reassuring her that no problem, keeping her safe is actually part of what I need to do. Bags were packed as midnight and Dylan were asked to go to a government building. That government officials and Hero associate members and a number of scientists were there as well to discuss things. Dylan explained some things about him being literally a half symbiote individual due to the situation with his parents both being bonded to Venom and putting the Symbiote Codex within them. Explaining also some of the abilities that symbiotes have used in the past, taking in high-level technology into them for planetary travel. They did keep the whole dimensional thing secret as they continued talking. As the talks continued, a scientist slammed their hands on the desk, yelling, "Wait! So basically these symbiotes can act like a information storage bank of the intellect and genius of multiple scientists for their knowledge to be passed on?" As Dylan stated, "Well, yeah, that's a possibility. Why?" As the scientist is just excited as he yells out, "This could be it! This could be what's needed to finally advance the space program that has been neglected for so long, ever since the emergence of quirks." There was some merit in that idea, though the Hero Association as well as the government official both stated that they should probably deal with the problem in regards to the villains first. They got away with a lot of reinforcements and a large number of symbiotes, and they don't know what exactly they're planning, as the public was not really sure about what to think about this. People without quirks saw the symbiotes as a way to finally gain respect and some power in the world where the powerless would look down on. Others with quirks that were seen as villains and such thought that this could help them as well. So it was a bit of a mixed bag, as some individuals with powerful quirks saw them as something that could be highly dangerous if in the wrong hands. So, bit of a mixed bag in multiple ways. With this, Dylan and Midnight were able to leave after debriefing everybody about everything. Sighing as they got into the elevator, they remark about how exasperating politics can be. Though they did arrange something else while they were in that office with the government official as well as a representative of the Hero Society. As Dylan offered to treat Midnight to a meal, smirking, with her stating, "You just got here and started work. Where exactly are you going to get the money from?" As he didn't really think of that, laughing, stating, "Well, sure, I can figure out something." As she laughs, finding him quite charming, actually. As letters were being sent out to multiple heroes, pro-heroes, as they were invited to UA, being asked for a yes or no answer to come there in order to help increase the quality of the symbiotes of the students and faculty members of UA. Some accepted, some denied. If you want to be a part of this, lay down in the comments of which student should have their symbiote temporarily bond to which hero. And some ideas of what would happen in combination with the quirk of the student already has, as well as the symbiote's abilities currently, and how they would work together. So, given that, put that in the comments with the character name of the student or faculty member with the symbiote, as well as the hero and their quirk that you would suggest having them temporarily bond to. With all that being said, I do hope you will enjoy, well, the rest of the videos that will be coming out. Hope you would enjoy this, and please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will hope to see you guys next time. With all that said, see you later, and bye!